I moved to the Philippines with no money, and I was convinced it would be the biggest mistake of my life. No cash, no savings, no backup plan. Just a small bag of clothes, a few documents, and the faint hope that maybe, somehow, I could start over. I remember sitting on that plane, staring out the window, thinking, what am I doing? How will I even survive when I land? But what happened after I touched down shocked me and completely changed the way I look at survival, community, and even life itself. The very first night was the hardest. I had nowhere to go. The airport, with its fluorescent lights and endless stream of travelers, became the only safe option. I sat on a hard bench, clutching my bag, watching people rush past me with tickets, luggage, and plans. Everyone seemed to know where they were headed, except me. I wondered how long I could keep this up before hunger, exhaustion, or despair caught up to me. Then something small but unforgettable happened. A security guard noticed me sitting there and asked where I was going. Embarrassed, I told him the truth. I had just arrived with nothing and no idea what to do next. He looked at me for a moment and simply said, "Don't worry. You'll figure it out here in the Philippines. People help each other." It was such a simple statement, but it was the first spark of hope I had felt in a long time. The next morning, I walked into the streets of Manila. The city hit me all at once, the heat pressing down on me like a blanket, the relentless noise of cars and jeepneys honking, vendors calling out, music spilling from open shops. I had no plan, no money, and my stomach growled with hunger. For a moment, I thought about giving up, maybe trying to go back. But then I remembered something I'd once read. People in the Philippines don't survive because they're rich. They survive because they're resourceful. That line stuck in my head, and I decided to test it. I approached street vendors asking if they needed help. Most shook their heads. Some ignored me. But one woman looked at me closely, then smiled. "You look hungry," she said. "Wash these dishes, and I'll give you dinner." That meal, a simple plate of rice and vegetables, was the first real sign that maybe I could survive here. And it didn't come from money. It came from kindness. Every day after that, I hustled. I collected empty bottles to sell for recycling. I offered to carry boxes for vendors. I helped jeepney drivers direct passengers. Sometimes I earned a few coins, other times just a meal, but it was enough. Slowly, I realized that even though I had no money, I still had time, energy, and the willingness to learn. What shocked me most was how Filipinos welcomed me into their lives. Strangers invited me into their homes. Families shared food with me when they barely had enough for themselves. Kids on the street laughed and pulled me into their games, teaching me songs and phrases in Tagalog. Survival here wasn't about being alone. It was about community. One of the turning points came when I wandered into a coastal town after hitching rides for days. I stood staring at the sea, wondering what to do next, when a fisherman approached me. "Want to learn?" he asked. I shrugged, and he handed me a net. That day, I learned how to cast nets, how to read the waves, how to respect the ocean. In return, I helped him carry his catch to the market. It wasn't much, but it gave me food, purpose, and a glimpse into a life I never imagined. I began sleeping wherever I could, on hammocks in small villages, on spare mats offered by families, sometimes under nipa huts when I had nowhere else. But not once did I feel completely alone. The resilience of the people around me became my strength. I'll never forget the night a typhoon hit. The rain hammered down like 1,000 fists, flooding streets and knocking out power. I thought I wouldn't make it through, but then neighbors gathered together. They pooled candles, shared food, and even found moments to laugh. Despite the storm outside, I realized survival in the Philippines wasn't about having everything. It was about sharing the little you had with others who had even less. Over time, I started picking up odd jobs. I helped farmers plant rice in muddy fields under the burning sun. I climbed coconut trees and learned how to harvest them. I cleaned fishing boats at dawn while the horizon glowed orange with the rising sun. The pay was small, sometimes just enough for a plate of food, but the lessons were priceless. I gained skills, connections, and slowly, confidence. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living, learning, and becoming part of something bigger than myself. What struck me most was how deeply Filipinos valued respect and family. Even though I was a foreigner with nothing, they treated me like one of their own. I had never felt so poor in money yet so rich in belonging. Another surprise was how affordable life could be compared to many countries. With just a few pesos, I could buy fish balls or rice from the street, pay for a tricycle ride, or get drinking water for the day. I learned to stretch every coin, and when coins weren't enough, I traded labor. I carried sacks of rice, repaired fishing nets, or swept shop floors. Somehow, it always worked out. Little by little, the struggles that once terrified me became normal. I no longer panicked when I went hungry because I knew someone would share. I no longer feared sleeping outside because I knew I wasn't alone. I began to trust people, and more importantly, to trust myself. Survival turned into gratitude. Most people back home would have thought moving to a foreign country with no money was insane. But in the Philippines, it turned into a journey of rediscovery. I saw how communities came alive during fiestas, with music, dancing, and food shared freely, even by those with very little. I saw how families worked together to put meals on the table, each member playing a role. I saw how kindness was given without expectation, simply because that's the way life was meant to be lived. I realized that survival isn't just about escaping hardship. It's about finding meaning within it. Wealth isn't measured in pesos or dollars, but in resilience, generosity, and relationships. When I look back now, I don't remember the hunger pains or the long nights spent in the rain. I remember the fisherman's patient smile, the laughter of barefoot children running in the street, the mother who gave me rice even though she barely had enough for her family, and the endless sunsets that painted the ocean gold, reminding me that tomorrow always brings new hope. I moved to the Philippines with no money, and somehow I survived. But more than that, I learned how to live. This country taught me that the poorest people are often the richest in heart. And survival isn't just about getting through the day. It's about embracing the people around you, the lessons they offer, and the hope that grows even in the hardest times. If you ever find yourself with nothing left, remember this: you can still survive. You can still thrive if you're willing to adapt, to connect, and to embrace the spirit of those around you. I came here with nothing, but in the Philippines, I found everything that truly matters.